Hello, my name is Heath Johnson. I'm a consultant with NCSI. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to obtain the latest note that is added to a ticket. And why this is important is there'll be a lot of tickets that have multiple notes that are added, and I need a method on how I can capture the latest note information and be able to pass that on to an email or pass it on to, like if I add it to a master incident, and be able to copy that note down to the related incidents. But so there's two methods that I use. One is using triggered actions on the incident business object with some expressions. And then the other method I use is doing some triggered actions on the notes, journal.notes business object with utilizing a quick action. So I'll demonstrate both of those. But first, let's log in to Service Manager and go into the admin interface, and we'll start with the incident business object. So there's three fields that I want to add. The first one is going to be the latest note body. And in this scenario, I'm going to make it an unlimited text field, but if the field, the notes body on the journal.note business object is HTML, then I would make this an HTML field. I'm going to add this field, and then I'm going to add two more. One is going to be for the subject. And the last one is going to be a Boolean, which is going to be for the latest note. Publish to web. I have my three fields that I've added, and the next step, what I want to do is I want to be able to see what's actually happening in these fields. Now I'm going to add these to a form so I can have some visibility, and then when I'm done testing, I'll pull those off the form, and then these fields will just be used in the background as needed. I'm going to update the customer ownership form and just add these fields temporarily under the description field. I'm going to make these a little bit longer so I can make sure I have plenty of room to see what's going on with them. And then make the body a little taller. Okay. Back in the user interface, I'm going to refresh my browser and open up an incident ticket and make sure everything is what I want it to be. Okay. Good. Okay, next I want to add some business rules. The first one is going to be an initialization role. Now this isn't necessary for this configuration, but anytime I add a Boolean, I always like to set it to false. Just so that way I'm dealing with two values, true false versus a true false and null value when I'm trying to do other things in expressions. Okay, the next rule I'm going to add is a triggered action, and I'm going to name this one latest note. And append it with incident. What I'm showing you, it can also be applied to service request business object and any of the other business objects where you want to add notes and capture the latest note. And I can't have business rules with the same name, so I'm going to, on this incident, I'm going to append it with incident, and then if I add this to the service request business object, then I'll append it with SR or service request or something like that. Okay, so in this case, I want to do it on link. So when a note is linked to an incident, I want this rule to trigger. I'm going to come down and do select incident contains journal notes. Not going to have any conditions. The action I want to configure is an update. And I want to update the three fields that I just added: latest note body, publish web, and latest note subject. I have an expression that has three parts to it. I'm going to paste them in here first and then do a quick explanation of how it works. So this is my expression, and I'm using a combination of functions. I have substring, I use a for each child, and then I use a find. And once I get my field, my expressions pasted in, then I'll do a quick explanation on how those are constructed. Next one I want to do is publish to web. And then the last one to be latest note subject. Okay. I'm going to save, and so that should be what I need. And then here is the business, the triggered action I just created. Let's take a look at the expressions that I'm using to obtain the latest note fields. I'm using a combination of three functions. The first one is substring, for each child, and find. Now on the substring, what that does is that's going to extract a text, and it's going to have a starting position and a length or ending position. On the for each child, we look at the parent object, the rec ID that's going to link to the child relationship, and then we have a child expression, and then the last we have a field, and then what that order is going to be, ascending or descending. And then the find, that's going to return a number. What it's going to do is it's looking for a string in this field or another expression, and then it has a starting position. So once it finds whatever string it's looking for, it's going to return a number. So how these work together, the substring, we have a text that we are looking for. We have a starting position and then length. So we start down with substring in the expression, and then we use this for each child, which is going to gather all of our text messages. So for an example, in the incident, it's going to look through all the journal notes that are linked to that incident, specifically in the note's body, and then it's going to add, once that note's body is added to the field, then it's going to append it with end. Now you can use any type of combination, but it's got to be something unique. And the last is we'll do a /r for a return, and then we'll sort using the created date time, and then we'll sort descending. So it's going to put the latest note at the top. So this is the text we are looking in, and then this is our starting position, which is 1. And then our length, we're going to use this whole expression to find our length. So what we're going to do is the find is going to look for this text end in beginning and ending pipes, and it's going to search for this end in, again, using that for each child. And once it finds that first end, which would be the just at the end of the last node, it's going to return that number. So if it's 145, then it's going to put 145 in this last portion of the substring. This is how this is constructed. It works pretty well. And this probably isn't the only application or usage of this combination. Trying to grab nodes, you can do with other business objects as well. So quick review of what I pasted. That way you can see it. This is the latest notes body, or latest note body. This is expression, and then so forth with the latest note published to web, and then the latest note subject. On the latest note published to web, it's starting off as a Boolean, and then it's getting copied to a text field. So then we put in the toString to convert that toString, which will then convert it to a true or false. And then when we want to put it back into the field, we convert it back to a Boolean to update our latest note published to web field, or not field, but checkbox. Okay, so let's go back to the Service Manager, and we're just going to test our triggered action to make sure it's working properly. So I'm going to start a new note, or a new incident. Fill in the fields, and then I'll save it. I'm going to add 3 notes and just kind of use a number. So we'll just do 1 summary and then 1 body. And I'm going to check the publish to self-service. Click on save, and then you notice that my publish to web is checked. My summary is in the right spot getting filled in, and then the body is also getting filled in. Let's add another note. Well, I'm going to uncheck or leave publish to self-service unchecked. We'll start with 2 summary and 2 body. Save. And you notice that the number changes as expected, and then our latest note published to web is unchecked. And then again, we'll try another one. We'll check it again. 3, this time we'll just type something else. And then that way I'm prefixing it with a number so I can make sure that it is indeed changing. Save. Latest note published to web is checked. We have a latest note subject starting with the 3, and then latest note body starting also with the 3. So our triggered action works, our expressions work as expected. So this is good. What I just showed you is the first or an option to collect the latest note that's added to an incident. You can also, like I said, you can also apply the same process to any other business objects, such as service request or problem or change. In addition to that, not only can you gather the latest note, but you can also get the latest email by using the same concept, except for working with the journal.notes business object. You'll work with the journal.email business object and just apply the same steps with the fields. Create some new fields for the latest email I call it incoming. I usually do it with the incoming email. So create the latest incoming email, body, latest incoming email, subject. I think that's it. And then create your triggered action, just the same as you would do as I demonstrated with the note. The next option I'm going to show I think is a little simpler and easy to put together because I don't have that complicated expression combining multiple functions. I'm going to keep the same 3 fields. I can just reuse those. What I'm going to do is disable this business object. And I want to just make sure that it's disabled because I don't want it to interfere because we're not going to use this one. And I'm going to add another note just to make sure that it is indeed disabled. So I'll put a number. And it's not. So what I want to do is go to my, or I could just delete that. Let's just delete it. So I don't need this anymore. And then what I want to do is run an IIS on my server, or IIS reset. Okay, that's done. I'm going to close this out and then refresh my browser. Now that my browser's refreshed, let's just test, make sure that there isn't anything going on with these fields. I'm just going to type in some garbage here. Let's add a note. Okay, nothing affecting my notes field now. Okay, good. So let's go back into the configuration console and open up business objects. I'm going to go to incident again. This time we're going to create a quick action. And we'll do an update object. We're going to give it a name. We'll just call this latest note again. Enter category. We can give it something, form actions. I'm just going to put it in system. And then what we want to do is we want to take the latest note body, latest note published to web, and then the latest note subject. And in the expressions for each one, which will be a lot simpler, and this is okay, you're going to get this warning. This is what we do intend. And this is going to be, because the relationship is a 0 to 1 to many, but it's not going to matter because in this case, from the note that gets created, it's going to run this or this quick action, which is just going to update that note that triggered the quick action anyway. So we can ignore this, and then I'll just fill out the rest of the fields. The last one is going to be the subject. Let's save this quick action we just created, and then we'll go back into the admin interface. Okay. The next step is we want to go to the journal .notes business object. And here we want to create a business role and a triggered action. And again, we'll just call this latest note for incident. And instead of using link like we did on incident, I'm going to click on insert of the object event. So when a new node is created, this rule is going to get triggered. And then our action is going to be a run for child. Click on next. And the child object in the relationship I'm going to select is incident contains journal. And then the action to run is the one that I just created. So we'll look for latest note. And then that would be it. We'll save it. And let's refresh this, make sure everything is going to work. Let's create a new note, or a new ticket. Test. Okay, save. And then now we're going to add a note. We'll call this for summary and for body. Check the box, click on save, and you notice here that publish to web is checked, and we have our two different fields we just, from the latest note we just added. And we'll keep testing. Save. So publish to web is unchecked. My fields changed here, and then we'll do it one more time. Check the box, 6, summary, 6 body. And then we should see these fields change again. Now that we've verified that the fields are getting updated, the latest note fields, what I want to do is remove these fields from the form as a cleanup part of the cleanup process. So what I'm going to do is just go back into the admin interface, open up my form, and then just delete these fields off and save. In summary, I've demonstrated 2 methods of getting the latest note that has been added to an incident. The first method is creating a triggered action on the incident business object, which runs an update action, and the expressions are just combining multiple functions to look through all the notes that have been added and sort them by descending order, and then grabbing, pulling off the latest one to update the latest notes fields. The second method is adding a triggered action to the journal.notes business object, which then runs a quick action on the incident business object, and what that does is that pulls the information from the note that was added and then updates the latest notes fields on the incident business object. The same method can be applied in capturing or grabbing the latest email, as well as applying the same methods to other business objects. Personally, I tend to use more of the second method on creating that triggered action on the journal.notes business object. I think it's simpler to configure and possibly a little bit more efficient since it's not having to go through all the notes that were added and sort them and pull off the latest one. I hope this video is helpful and provided some information, some options for you. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.